Good evening and welcome to the Curriculum and Co-Curricular Activities Committee meeting, April 9th, 2024 for the Monroe Township Public School District. And we have a light agenda for this evening, but we'll be heavy on conversation. So the first thing we have up on the agenda, and I believe Dr. Higgins is pinch hitting.
Yes.
Okay, so we have the annual Monroe Township High School Club update. So if you could.
Thank you.
Share
I do have a presentation if you want to take a look as it goes along. I guess you can see it there as well.
Yeah.
And I am here representing Dr. Colella, was unable to be here tonight, and he does a great job monitoring our clubs throughout the year. If you know, we changed our process, and excuse my voice, I'm a little hoarse tonight as well. We changed the process of club proposals 2 years ago, I believe. We had an old system where as students made club proposals to the administration, we would bring them one by one to this committee for approval, which started to become cumbersome. And with the idea of shortening the agendas for these meetings, we put in a new system last year where students would, or that's the old application. If my clicker is going to work, there we go. The new system is more of a time period piece where students would propose a club beginning around winter break to Dr. Colella. They would fill out the online form for club proposals, and he would compile all of those proposals, and we would review them, and then we would present what we thought was appropriate to this committee. So that's the part we're at the timeline. If you want to take a look, this is the online form. It's very basic. It's similar to the old form, but it does ask questions about the purpose of the club and if there's any national organization that they're linked with. Then they have to come up with signatures from students who would be joining the club. So it's detailed in the fact of we want students to know that the club is not just there to have their name on it as starting a club, but it has to serve a purpose and serve a betterment of the school and or the community around. So this year we had 17 proposals for new clubs. And this is a list of the clubs that you can see here that were proposed from winter intersession up until about a month ago. And through Dr. Colella's hard work, we were able to recommend, we're going to recommend only 3 to the committee tonight. We have a list of those that were not recommended for approval and why we are not recommending them for approval. You can see that a lot of these clubs can be folded into existing clubs and or they are existing curricular activities that we have within the building, and a club is not necessarily needed. What Dr. Colella does then is that he meets with all of the students who propose these clubs and really explains to them the purpose behind having clubs and the fact that if they wanted to participate in these situations or in these events, they could join certain clubs that already exist. So this is a further list of the clubs that were not recommended for approval. We do have one club that we are not recommending this year, but we will be recommending next year. It's the Science Olympiad and a competition group, but it does come with some budgetary items that were not budgeted for next school year. So what we did was, or what Dr. Colella did was sit and meet with the student and explain to them the situation that we were in and that they would recommend we will put a budgetary item in for this club next year. Once they recommend it next year, then we could run it the following year. Therefore, we would be budgeted for it. And those budgeted items are not just, as you know, for the first year of a club, the advisor does not get paid, so it would not be a paid budgetary item, but it would be for competitions and travel and things like that that we would have to pay for beyond regular funding. So we are recommending 3 new clubs this year. The first is the Jewish Student Union. This is a faith-based club, which we have several faith-based clubs here at the high school. And it would be a welcome addition to our list of those clubs. This is a group that has been asking for this, I believe, for 2 or 3 years now. And they have been able to get together a group of students that would be able to make up this club. The chess club, which we did have at one time. And as you know, Dr. Colella is very diligent in taking attendance and making sure the clubs are doing what they're supposed to do. And this was one of the clubs that became defunct after many years of not a lot of people attending clubs. But the interest that it is showing now with our current population of students is great. And this is something that would also, I believe, turn into a competition type of club where we would compete against other schools. And finally is the Sports Business Club. This is going to be an extension of a lot of the curricular activities that we do during the school, but the vision of this is that this club would actually work very closely with Mr. Barandika and the athletic department. And the members of their club would actually be assigned to different sports throughout the high school, and I'm guessing throughout the middle school too, to actually be coordinators for their social media and build enthusiasm for the team, kind of like a pep director through that club, almost cross-curricular with the athletic department, and be in charge of getting different types of not only social media, but results to the Monroe Network News, and just to ensure that those things get to where they need to be on time. So kind of a student representative for those activities.
And to help drive some content for our website as well, like with updates.
Okay.
And as you know, every year we do look at attendance, we do look at participation for our clubs. This year, we do have 3 clubs that were notified that they will be on probation for next year because of lack of participation. Those 3 clubs are listed there: the Gay Straight Alliance, the Peace Ambassadors, and the Photography Club. We've seen a fall off in participation in those clubs. And those advisors know that next year, if they don't have an increase in participation or students belonging to that club, that they could be removed from the list the following year. So that's it. Those are the 3 clubs that we are recommending to the council for, I guess, preliminary approval for next year. I guess this is all based on what happens next week or in 2 weeks as far as clubs are concerned at the high school next year. But if we were lucky enough to have that question approved, these would be the 3 clubs that we would be recommending in addition for next year.
Anybody have any questions?
And I will do my best to answer. You know, Dr. Colella is the foreperson for this, but
my first question is about the Sports Business Club. So, and maybe you or Ms. Barandika can explain. I did see the student that proposed this. I did see her work this year because I'm a soccer mom, and it was exceptional. The game announcement, the social media work that was done. I guess this was a trial phase for her. My question is, will all sports get somebody assigned, or will the kids just, oh, I only want to do this sport and the other sport does not get the attention it needs? And how does it differ from team managers? Because I know that this was a new thing that we saw last year where, you know, somebody was managing the social media account, making game announcements. So I can see that in the application, you know, I can relate that. But I know that every sport has a student team manager. Mm-hmm. So is that going to fall into the whole club aspect as well? Because I see the relation, or is this separate? And is there any connection to the student who's doing this? Should be have played the sport in the past, or should have tried out for the sport? Or is there like any connection, or you can?
So I will tell you what I know the vision to be. The vision to be is that every sport will have someone that is assigned to them for certain duties, and those duties, responsibilities, let's not say duties, responsibilities that would go beyond what the manager would do. The manager As you would know, it, helps take care of the book during the game and helps the coach do things. This would be more of a liaison really with the athletic department, social media and getting more enthusiastic following for each sport, because you do see everybody goes to certain sports to see certain games, and other games, students may not know about it, and there just needs to be more marketing and advertising. So this is kind of that business aspect to it.
So two separate roles.
Yep, and I don't know, Steve, you talked to
Yeah.
Joe about this, so if you want to.
So I agree 100%, and I think some sport teams have managers who have been a little bit more involved. So for example, for soccer, they're really good with helping out with social media posts and generating some of that content. But I think the thought process behind it is to make sure that we have a little bit more of a level playing ground for everyone else as well, and to be able to provide that for some of the other sports. So again, as Dr. Higgins said, they will kind of help out with the other sports as well and try to get content for everyone as best as we can.
So my concern here is that we do want to make sure once this, every sport gets the benefit of it and not just.
Absolutely.
And my other question, if I can continue.
Yes, go ahead.
There was one club that I had, questions on, which I don't see on this list. There was an issue last year where they made the nationals and it's called a TSA club.
Technology Student Association.
I don't have an answer for that. I don't know. I didn't see it on the list of those that were.
Yeah, not rejected. I don't see it here. I don't see it at all in your presentation. So my question, and you could probably send us a response later once you find out, is that an approved club for the coming year? And if it is, then are we going to treat it the same way because I know that last year, the national competition trip was completely parent sponsored.
Mhm.
Like parents had to go, there was no staff, at the date, we're allowed to do it under the school umbrella.
So
So I want to know if this is going to be treated the same as other robotics or business clubs going
So
forward, because they've
were
been
they-
doing very well.
were they a club that was approved last year?
I have no idea, so that's. my
I can look
question
into
right
that.
now. Why
I
did
don't
that
remember
happen?
them being approved last year. And therefore, if, as an example, if they were approved last year, that they would have 1 year that
The probationary
we would
period.
not fund it, correct? The district would not
Okay.
fund it. So if it was approved and they're going through their probationary year,
Okay,
then the second year, then it would go into district
Okay.
funding. That's if they were approved last
If they were
year.
approved.
If they were not approved last year and they did not put in a proposal this year, that's why they would not be on this list. But I can follow up with
And is there
Dr.
a
Colette.
way to find out on our website what are the approved clubs?
Yeah, on our website, there's clubs,
Okay,
and
and it
that's
would
where I'm
probably
going right now to check it out, and it gives you a list of.
Even the probationary ones would be on.
We don't list probationary clubs,
Okay.
that's more in-house.
Okay. All right, that answers my question. Thank you.
Anybody else? Ms. Curry?
Yes, I think the sports business club is fantastic reading through this. One question I had, I know it says it will work closely with the newspaper and video production, classes, department, clubs. Will there be a possibility of expanding some of this and having maybe announcing at the games as well? Or maybe like some type of broadcasts? Like I know some schools have where they have on an AM channel where they have students actually doing the broadcasting. Is this something that may come out of this club as well?
I think the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
If not announcing, but maybe doing some type of public service announcement in the middle of a game or something like that to then kind of bring up the sport or really celebrate the students and the athletes at the events.
And also providing the experience for some of those students who may be interested in those avenues, sport, journalism or things like that as well. So.
And again, endless possibilities. We don't really do radio anymore, but we do podcasts, and you may see students doing podcasts at these games,
Right.
which would be pretty interesting. And Ms. Bora, back to your, we do have a technology club listed, so it was approved last year. So I'm guessing that they're
This
going
year
through their
as well.
probationary year this year.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Anybody else?
Clubs overall, or just this club? I have one
Clubs
question.
overall.
The Jewish Student Union, it was crossed off on the application, it said Jewish Club. What is the difference between it being a club versus a student union?
I can't answer that. I'm guessing, during the discussions with Dr. Colella and the students that were doing it, I believe there was a request from the students to change the name, after they formally, applied for it.
Are they connected then with some type of national union or?
Does,
I'm just.
if you have the application in front of you, one of the questions should ask if there's an affiliation with a national organization.
Yes,
Yeah,
Does it say that?
Yes.
It is, okay.
some organizations can include.
Yeah, a lot of them are.
yeah, so they can, yeah.
That may be a catalyst for them asking to change the name. With some type of, national, partnership, they may require that the club, quote unquote, have a certain name to it.
Okay.
If I may make a comment, I did look at the list of, how they get 30 students to sign, and I was very happy to see that there were students from all ethnic diversities that had signed that. I
Mhm.
see from the names that had signed that.
And
It was
that's
very,
yeah.
it was very heartwarming to see that in the Jewish student union stuff, yeah.
Anything else? I think these are three very interesting clubs. I was surprised that the chess club had fallen out of favor and now it's back, and I think that's great, because I know that we have a chess club that meets at, down in Jamesburg, in the Monroe Chess Club, they meet at Jamesburg, I think it is, and, I know they were partnering with us for some of our stuff, so I'm excited to see that come back, because I think chess is an interesting game. I don't know how to play it, but I watch it sometimes, and I'm like, so the sports business, this looks really great, because sports business is like, it's a job, it's the people are out there, sports media and all that kind of stuff, so it really, I think it's great, and I think, having something like that, another avenue for our kids to be able to practice, do internships, kind of stuff, it's it's good for, it's good for anything, they go to college, they don't go to college, it's a great thing to have on your resume, to do stuff like that, and the, Jewish Student Union, again, I think religious clubs are great, that's a thing. A great thing to have in the school as well, so I know we have several of them already, so I'm excited about that, so I have no problem moving these forward.
No, and if I can just piggyback on what you said, I think for a long time, we've been discussing as a board and as a district, how to get our school spirit out there. And
Yes.
I want to thank you, Mr. Barandika, as well, for working with the students to bring this club forward, because the more that we have the students out there trying to get, our Falcon name out there and excitement over all of our sports programs, I think that helps our school culture and our branding really for Monroe Township. So I agree. I think this is wonderful.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of, like,
And
great way to do school spirit, and I know we are challenged here with our space, having pep rallies, is definitely a challenge here in the high school, and I know, having all the students in the gym is difficult, and I know I personally remember, high school during football season, we had a pep rally every Friday, and I know we don't do that here, but, that's how people came out. Our football team was horrible. We had a pep rally every Friday. And then basketball season, we would have pep rallies before the basketball game. So, I mean, it was, pep rallies is a way, that kind of stuff. But pep rallies for our kids today is social media is, let's, how many likes we get? What do we, kind of, sharing, look at this is great. Our football team did this. This is, awesome. And we get, that's a really, it's the way of the, the world today. But school spirit is an awesome thing.
Speaking to the work that was done just last soccer season, so all these years, everybody knows Sue Knotts, right? So her kids played the program, she's always been with the program since then. She would do the game day announcement. And the athletes would wait till midnight to see her game day announcement, and they would all share it, like it would go viral in seconds. But there was a lot of work Sue Knotts was doing herself. This year, the tide changed. Danica Zalman started doing it, and she was also the manager, but she started doing this, which is what I read here, that's going to now propagate to other sports. The game day announcements were just so much more branded. Like Sue Knotts does an amazing job. She stepped away. She said, "The students are doing this. I am so proud. I am going to stop doing this." And Danica took it over and now they're doing it, I think, for other sports as well. And so I've already seen the work in action that they are talking about in the club, and I'm excited for this to propagate to other sports. So-
Yeah.
So, yeah, and even throughout the school day, we have televisions throughout the school that are able to put those celebrations up. But right now, it's an administrator that comes down as they're walking from one place to another to make sure everything's set up correctly, or someone from the tech department. There are often times when I put out a Friday update, I will miss a sport because I didn't get something from somebody in time. So this is all part of those responsibilities.
And I won't take credit for it, it's all student driven, so it's their idea, and again,
Yep.
they're interested in it, so.
I think it's awesome. I think it's a great way, and I think it's a testament to the building of community that we are doing here at the high school. And Mr. Barragán, you've been able to foster that really well throughout the whole year since you've taken over that role. And I want to thank you for that, because I think we've really done a great job for that and fostering, all the different things that we have out there. We really are, we're blessed to have good people working in the district. We really are. I appreciate that. So we also have another pinch hitter this evening, on the agenda. We're missing Mr. Monroe. I don't know, my last curriculum meeting, he didn't want to come. I prayed he was gonna cry or something. I don't know. So, Dr. Lehman is going to talk to us about the spring and summer enrichment. Please get out your magnifying glass.
So I'm gonna hit on the spring enrichment first. So he gave me some notes to speak on. I'll kind of go through them and then we can take a look at the mini print document I have. So yesterday, we introduced our second after-school enrichment program in the area of careers and technology and free growth ed. It's called Club Code. It's our latest all-access computer science and robotics enrichment program. So yesterday, it kicked off at Applegarth. Woodland begins next week, and Brookside is slated to start later in the month. Notable, Applegarth has 2 sections, and they sold out very, very quickly. Woodland has 1 section, there's 1 seat left. So if anybody's interested, we got 1 seat left, and that starts on Monday. And then Brookside has not been pushed out yet, but we will respond. If we need 2 sections at Brookside, we can run 2 sections, but we start with 1, and when that sells out, we move on to the next one. And again, look for that later in the month. So what is Club Code? It offers our participants the opportunity to begin learning various computer science languages and applications through the use of our curricular resources. The program is the latest offspring of Project Code, which began last summer, as we continue to build upon our ESSER funding opportunities that we had coming out of COVID. That all laid the groundwork for our after-school and our summer enrichment programs. So Club Code joins Cooking with Cancer, the Winter Whisk, as our after-school learning opportunities. Students looking to round off their learning with technical skills. So, and everybody, I believe, did get a whisk in the winter. Our district hopes to continue and more managed programs. Definitely in the summer, as you'll see, the summer offerings have expanded on the enrichment side for sure. But we'd also like to expand these offerings during the school year as well. We're certainly strategic with them because we're using certificated staff. We're using resources that can be integrated into the classroom. They're building on skills that the students will learn as we move through middle school and high school. It's not just like a babysitting daycare kind of opportunity. These are learning experiences, and that's why we're meticulous and strategic about rolling them out. So that's our spring enrichment, and then he wanted me to share with you the very small printed document that has our almost finished summer catalog. And this is just the enrichment side of things. So this is everything from musical theater to our band opportunities, our summer band opportunities, as well as the STEM opportunities, the arts opportunities that we have. They're all kind of listed here. So these will go out to the public for registration starting later this month. So everyone can plan for their summer opportunities. And that's our update. He certainly has, some other things in terms of, we look at like high school credit recovery and things that more information to follow on that side of things, but this is the enrichment specific update.
Anybody have any questions?
No, I just wanted to I took a quick look at this and one comment is, and I know I make that every time we discuss summer enrichment classes, we still have to fulfill the need for high schoolers looking for, enrichment classes. So a lot of these off programs stop at ninth grade. And I know that to get in high schoolers to enroll in our enrichment programs, we would have to offer them advancement classes, where they can take a summer math class, which they're going to neighboring districts for. So I keep asking that, and I know that that's a source of revenue for our district. We are paying South Brunswick, we are paying Petty, and then the kids are coming back here and giving tests here to kind of, understand whether they met the requirements for the district. So it'll be great if we can, as soon as possible, offer those classes over summer where we charge them. They don't have to take a test because they took the classes with us. We make money, they get to move up a level. So that's my only comment, based on what.
That class, if I may, that class, so we had that conversation and then I had reached out to our county executive county superintendent and we did get approval. We did get approval. The conversations that we're having is we're looking at how it would be scheduling wise. So if we allow, let's say personal finance was an example, personal finance to be in the summer time, what does that look like when we schedule them, when they normally are scheduled during the school year? So now we're looking at scheduling. And then, of course, Dr. Higgins and I had the conversation on Monday, talking about these classes when children go other places and take a class. We do allow, for example, I'll use Petty as an example. We had this conversation. We do allow the class to be counted, but there are some, and they're not state, they're our requirements. And I don't know if you want to speak more on that, but we require them to take off final. Is that correct?
The reason we do that is because I can't speak to the level that it's being taught at, or I'm not overseeing the teachers. So in order to make sure that they're actually being successful enough going through to be able to move forward. And because the way we have it set up, and I know in the past it had been a state reasoning, I don't know anymore for that part, because I haven't been asked to look into it. But it doesn't count as one of the graduation requirements. So if they're moving ahead, I have to make sure that they'll still be able to meet the requirements going through. So if somebody were to say, let's say, take 2 summer classes, that would then mean they'd still have to take 3 courses once they're in high school going through. Right, so that is something we can look into, but that's the way it has been.
Yeah,
So if they take algebra, if they take algebra 1 at Petty over the summer, that doesn't count for their math requirement here. If they pass our direct, see that we need to look into.
But also,
That's not enough.
also,
That's the
That's
state.
not enough.
trial is,
It's a state thing, but I'm not.
State thing.
Yes.
we
So
have.
you can advance, but it doesn't count as a
We-
graduation. requirement.
Take a
We have
higher level
students-
math when they get back.
We have
Oh,
students that are
okay.
doubling up, they're doing algebra 1 and geometry.
So when they
the same
double up, it
marking
counts,
period,
because they're taking it over the 180 days.
over the 180 days.
Yes.
But we do allow, so if a student was doing regular math in middle school, but wants to go into honors geometry in freshman year, they have to do algebra 1 before they can take honors geometry. So algebra 1, I've heard that they've done it in Petty, come here, given the test, cleared the grade, and then gone on and done honors.
So coming from 8th grade to 9th grade, when they start, it's when they've completed 9th grade. Because there's a more maturity curve, they've got it down through. It
Okay.
doesn't turn out to be algebra 1 because they usually take algebra 1 in 9th grade or
Right.
in 8th grade or 9th grade. There's a lot of districts that don't even allow for algebra 1, ridiculous, regardless, because it's just the foundation for every other math going through. Doing that in 6 weeks would be
So
definitely.
honors geometry you can do over the summer.
So what I let them do, and because I'm taking it over this year going through, I have the hard papers still where they get the signatures, just so that in case there's no lost things, but I'm also having them sign up online, just so I have everything right there, and I have a drop-down menu, and they tell me which course that they're going to take, and whether it be geometry, honors geometry, algebra 2, honors algebra 2, pre-calculus, honors pre-calculus, and then they tell me which exam they are going to take with that. And so it is possible that they decide they're taking regular geometry through, because not everybody offers an honors geometry, but Petty does. They want to go into, if they're taking the geometry, they want to go into honors algebra 2 the next time. They can take the honors exam if they want to, but then there's a little bit on them to be able to, they can look up the curriculum document and see the difference. More times than not, they take the course that's the same, and then they're ready for that level going through. What I found is that there's really no borderline, and they're not getting a grade for it. I'm looking to see are they ready to move on. So if I say an 80, they're not getting a 79. If I see a 79, I'm looking through and seeing if there's got to be a way I can get partial credit going through. They typically get like in the 50s and below, or they leave the material. It's hard to retain the material when they're in a summer class. I taught summer classes years ago, more for credit recovery though. You're learning it today, testing it tomorrow, learning it today, testing it tomorrow. So they have to have retained it, and they're just retaining it over the month's time. And so retaining something over a month is different than retaining something over 180 days. I just want to make sure that they're ready to move on. And in particular, if they're taking the, let's say the algebra 2, they're ready to go to pre-calculus and they're ready to go to calculus after that. Because they do have to have those 3 years of math during the school year.
So if I can ask you this for better understanding, if there is a student who is capable of it, and wants to move from, has taken, has taken algebra 1 in 9th grade, and wants to go into pre-cal for sophomore year, so wants to do honors geometry over the summer, are you saying that,
They still need
can-
algebra 2 though.
Sorry, algebra 2, sorry,
Yeah.
in sophomore year want to go to, so they want to,
I can tell you right now, because it's a live basis going through, I already have 26 students signed up. It turns out that every single one of them happens to be a 9th grader, because I'm asking that as well. I get 10th graders who take it, typically not 11th graders, because they're doing other things.
so are they able to,
I was
do
gonna
that
say-
in Monroe, are they able to go to outside
So
districts?
this,
So they're paying $2,000 to.
And that's a
study
choice,
for-
and I don't say you have to go to,
My ask-
I don't advocate for one
Right,
program
right,
over
my
another.
ask is, can we do that? Can
Why aren't we
do that
teaching it?
here in Monroe? We charge $2,000. The parents are happy to pay us because they get the guarantee that my child did it from this school district, and so it's going to be accepted here, because we've had parents who came and complained where they passed the exam in Petty, but they failed the test here in Monroe. So they paid $2,000 and the child did not.
Then it's just they didn't score higher.
They did, well, yeah, I guess, they meet the criteria.
They meet the
They
criteria.
met the criteria, and like you said, Ms. Gasco, that, you can't trust other systems, you gotta keep it. So why can't they go through
So
the
that they
criteria?
learned.
Dr. Lehman has a response,
So-
though.
So you want to know,
About this, right? I'm gonna-
yeah, if you want to know why we aren't doing it now?
Yes,
So we have a structure, so it's a 120-hour requirement.
yes.
So a recovery program, which is why we have the 64 to 50 range in order to take a recovery piece, is because they only need 60 seat hours to do the recovery piece. If they got lower than the 50, then they would need the full 120 again. We didn't the past 2 summers have a structure in place to teach the 120-hour course. Because as it stands, it's 6 weeks, 4 hours a day, right? So now we would be doubling it for the same amount of time. So it's about ensuring we have the staff that would be able to commit to the full length of instruction to get it done. Some of the programs, and I don't speak to the enrichment or the advancement piece, but some of the 120-hour, and we talk about recovery pieces, are hybrid online / in-person, and some of them are all online. And we find that the success rate of the online piece, it depends on the course, isn't as high as it is as an in-person. So the hurdle we have now, and we're working with Mr. Monroe to look at the summer schedule, is the 120 hours seat time over the course of the abbreviated summertime. There's time to do it, starting right after 4th of July and moving on, but it's how do we structure that with the building operations and things like that. So it's not to say we can't do it, but the jump is literally doubling the amount of time that a student would have to be with us. And now we're looking at a lunch piece. How do we, they can bring a lunch, that's totally fine, but it's another kind of piece that we just have to move over. That's why we started with the credit recovery piece way back in the beginning of this, because we could do it all by about 1 o'clock in the early afternoon, and everybody goes home. So now we're kind of making that next leap.
Right, and
So-
because districts nearby are doing it, if we could emulate that, it's a source of revenue and it's also helping our students, so.
And it's
I
our
think
own,
that's the
having our own staff, full certificated staff.
It just speaks to,
I can tell you, I'm totally in favor of it, but there is a structural system that you have to have in place.
Yeah.
And so we also have to make sure that we can run it, and when we get to that point, how many seats do we have available for it? Because we have to get the staffing for it. So if I have 50 students that are signing up for it, but we only have the ability to offer it to 30, then there's a lot of things in play. With this, I did check ahead of time before I started approving to say, where are we going with this summer? Because I don't want to tell parents you're paying for this, and then, oh, by the way, in June, we're running it, right? So this is a work in progress. I know when we did the credit recovery, when we did it very methodically, and it was successful. Like, we made sure that the students were going through. So I think we just want to make sure that we are at that point in time where we really can get it through.
So the 120 leap would make a smooth transition with the DLE program. And that's why the personal finance piece for several years in a row,
Define DLE, please.
digital learning environment.
Thank you.
So it's a hybrid course to begin with. We offer it on site during the school day, but it has an online component with a teacher facilitator attached to it. So whereas every other course is designed to be in person all the time, that course has that. So that's why it's naturally set up to, we could have the students come in for 4 hours and then do the other piece at home. They could go home and engage with us virtually. So that's why that piece is a nice piece. And then the other things we've talked about is potentially looking at other courses. So math is intense in the sense that, you know, there's a lot of one-on-one, there's a lot of engagement and high stakes moving forward with the 3 graduation requirements. We can analyze our catalog and in the future, take a look at what electives are potentially in the path of students. And if they're in a track, they don't have the opportunity to take. So what electives could we offer in the summer for them to take that they wouldn't necessarily be able to take because of their natural trajectory through the high school? So, you know, and maybe those courses would be more, lend themselves better to a potential hybrid environment or something like that. So that's another piece that we can take a look at, you know, moving forward, but
And
we're certainly interested in it.
Petty for the honors, and this is just their choice to do that, it's 150 hours. So they then make sure that there's another level of rigor and in-depth thinking. And again, I've worked well with the director who's now since retired going through, but they do want it to work for the surrounding schools, so that's a great thing for us. But again, if somebody else brings, I have a few other programs, if they could find a program that meets the standards, meets the 120-hour or more requirement, is in person, so I know that they're really in there and they're learning, I approve it, but I don't know their teachers. Like, I don't know how it's being taught, I don't know how their grading system is, so it
The
just.
ideal solution is.
But if they're successful in that program, are we accepting that?
No, not unless they meet the other criteria.
So that's the reason why they come in and take the final, because if I have somebody who gets a 95 in a program and they come in and they get a 40 on my final, that's.
But you have a large portion of students that get a 40 on your final here and go on to the next math course.
And they're trying to remember something and retain it over 180 days versus over 30 days.
Yeah, but that's not fair to the student. If you take math all year and you get a 40 on the final, then you can move on to the next math course.
They can.
Yes, you can.
How can I
If
think
you fail
exam
the
is fine.
If you fail the final, doesn't necessarily.
Final exam, not a final grade.
Exam doesn't necessarily.
No, he meant.
I thought you meant for class. I didn't know for class.
Credits from that course.
Yeah.
You're earning the 5 credits.
Right.
But I'm
With
saying
the
if
summer
we're
advancement,
presenting
you won't have the
final,
credits.
If we're presenting students with finals that we're saying you have to pass, when our regular students here in our building aren't passing our finals, how could you tell a student that took a class over the summer at Petty and successfully completed it with an A, if you can't pass our final, that even our own students can't pass, you can't get credit? That's the complaint that me and you are hearing
And I'm
from
getting
a lot of students, from a lot of parents.
Yeah.
So this also goes back to the final exam question, is why are they getting a 40 on that final? Why are they getting a 40 on a final that they have all year, that they're getting an A in the class? Why is that one individual student getting a 40
We've
on
been
that
asking
final?
that, yeah.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So as I spoke about in the last curriculum committee meeting, is there's many reasons why that student can get a 40. It could be because they get an A in the class and they don't want to take a final. So they're just gonna go in and they're gonna put in whatever they want. And that probably happens more than you think it does.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
So to Ms. Gasco's point is, you're talking about a student that has taken 180 days of a math course as compared to a student that has taken 30 days of a math course. What's the reason they're getting a 40 on that final after 30 days? It's probably not because they don't care about the final, because they really want to get into a class. It's because they haven't learned what they need to learn. So that's the difference between the two.
I don't agree with that.
Well, I mean, that's fine, but it's an apples and oranges situation.
They were close.
they were short by a few points, so it wasn't really 40 and 90, but it was, they cleared it there, but they were short by a few points here, and they couldn't, move up. So I think the ideal solution is Monroe to Auburn.
I was just gonna say the exact.
I don't have anybody that misses it by a couple points. Like I said, I look at every final that's a borderline final. And then if I look and I see that it's, they got a 76 or they got a 78 on it, and I look and see, all right, I can look at the curriculum from the other school and they didn't cover this one particular unit at the end. I can take those questions out. As I said, they're not getting a grade on a report card. I look to see that they have enough retained to go through to be successful. They are skipping over, and now it's mandated, they have to take one level higher than what they would have had to otherwise. When they're in school, they don't have to take one level higher because they're getting the credit by the state. So many years ago, when we had students this wasn't even about summer school going through, there was a time when I had students that might have been in, we used to call it trigonometry. It was trigonometry, math analysis. Modern name is pre-calculus, same course, same exact course, but it used to be called trigonometry by short. Students were having a difficult time passing that class to graduate. And some of it might have been because they started Algebra 1 early, and once they got to high school, they didn't count the Algebra 1 they took in 8th grade. So there's just a lot of things that go on. Like there's another thing people don't understand. Why doesn't the Algebra 1 in 8th grade count? That's a state dictate. That's not my dictate. So yes, you're taking high school classes at an earlier time. You're taking a high school class over the summer. They don't count to meet the high school graduation requirements by the state.
Right, and the students that we're talking about that want to advance, they're not the ones that'll take one less year of math.
That's right.
They just want to do more. They want to get to
So some,
eat.
and some are taking it because their parents want them to. Some are also taking it.
Whatever the
and-
reason, as
Right,
long as
and
they
I-
want to take more.
I've had some students who've told me point blank, and their reasoning is fine, but they might be taking it to then get a better background, and their intention is to retake it the next year. So
For
there's
a lot
all
of, for a
different.
lot of families and students, it's about a college application, and most of these are not looking to take less math credits, they're looking to take more math credits. So
But there's
would-
students that are spending 150 hours on their summer to take a
Right.
class at Petty. Petty is, it's a rigorous program. I mean, to sit here and say that we don't know what kind of program Petty is giving them and we don't know if it's teaching them enough, I think is,
The
I don't think
solution
it's
really,
accurate.
There's a great deal of success with the Petty program. As
There
I said,
is.
They've worked with us to make sure that they're meeting of the level of what we're, and not just us, I mean, us and other schools that are
even
surrounding.
South Brunswick.
Do we have a percentage of children that are not successful on a final exam that come from other schools in the summer?
Do they?
No, do you? I'm just curious. Do we have a percentage? If 40 kids go and take it, how
I
many of those
have-
children don't move on? I'm just
I have-
curious.
I have other schools where students don't do as well, but I also have a much smaller percentage that go to them, so I can't really say it's not a good program. I don't
Would you
know.
say in general, the children that go to Petty are successful on a final?
The far majority have more.
That's what I wanted to know.
But it's also sometimes it's different courses, I mean, there are different students every year. If you're taking 30 of my students compared to we have 2,500 in here, it changes every year. So I can't say one program is stronger or weaker over another publicly, just on a little tiny bit of sampling data from me. That would not be fair to any of those students. I couldn't do that.
I think in conclusion, I just want to say that all of this would be solved if we were offering it ourselves. We would be making money and we would not be doubting.
And it would be our program.
It'll be our program, we would own it, and it would give our children the opportunity, which is the end goal here. We want to give them as many opportunities as we can of all types. So thank you.
Piggyback that?
Just one
That's the
question.
challenge to you, Dr. Mayor.
There's advancement opportunities in math, world language, and science. So there's three forms where they're basically approval forms, pre-approval forms. They're on the high school website. They're under career counseling. And that's what Ms. Gasco is referring to as the students identify courses over the summer. They communicate them to the administrative team at the high school. They just review them to make sure they're good, and especially if they're coming from Petty, it's good to go as long as it's in sync with your process. But by far, math is the most common advancement opportunity. The criteria for science is, just like any of our courses here, there needs to be a lab requirement to it. So if you're going to take an advancement course for science, that's to make sure you have a lab requirement piece. So.
And part of the approval is making sure they're going to the right next level. You know what I mean? I don't want to say, oh, yes, you can take pre-calculus. Oh, wait, you didn't take algebra 2. You know what I mean? I need to, and that's why this form kind of tells me everything. And I can look very, very quickly and say, all right, look, everything looks lined up. It's perfect. Just get the signatures and we're good to go.
Thank you.
So I challenge you to create a program so we can do that here.
Yeah, well, we're working on that with Mr. Morello right now, and that's, we have the core recovery piece, like I said, in place. It's extending it for double the amount of time is basically what it is, and we'll go from there. Because again, we have curriculum, we have everything in place, right? Unlike some of the other things, we had to create those. It's putting the rest of the staff in place and making sure it's fiscally responsible, right? Because now we're extending all of our,
Right.
we talked about it, our nursing coverage, our security coverage and things like that. So, yep.
Looking at it all.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, thank you.
When you get it together, it needs to come here and it needs to go to finance, of course. I'm just for the future, because I won't be here. So, I added a last minute agenda item that's not out on the thing, because we were having some pre-meeting conversation, and there have been 2 grants that have been, awarded. So, and forgive me.
General Run.
Jen, please tell us about your grant.
Okay, so we applied with the state for a grant. It's a state of New Jersey working in conjunction with Rutgers. This grant is called the DREAM Grant. It stands for Developing Resiliency with Engaging Approaches to Maximize Success. And it goes hand in hand with our SEL program that we already have in place. So through this grant, we are going to begin with our lower elementary schools as one group and our upper elementary schools as another group. Each one will go through some training provided by the state for Nurtured Heart, or following the Nurtured Heart approach, which is the same as what the state uses throughout for all of their services that they provide. And we will have one person from each level of elementary schools attending that. It's a 5-day, very intense program. But they'll get to go with the person who actually developed the Nurtured Heart approach, which his name is Mr. Glacier, I believe. And we'll just incorporate that into our SEL that we currently have. So the whole stance behind everything is taking a positive approach to whatever should happen. So if a student is misbehaving, we're going to look at it from a positive approach. If they're doing great, we're going to also look at it from a positive approach.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Ms. Trust, I understand you have a grant you want to share with us.
Good evening. We, earlier, the state actually put out a grant for schools that were starting the AP African American Studies course. We had already planned that we were going to offer that course. However, this grant funding will augment it. The main purpose for it is to allow for field trips. As you know, doing some field trips with busing can be a little bit more expensive. So we'll be able to take some students on some field trips that will augment the class, purchasing textbooks, teacher training, and being able to do some K-12 PD. So this really is going to augment the course that we were already setting up. So it's a really good opportunity.
Excellent. Thank you for that.
And I'm the lucky lady that gets the emails. Very exciting to get all these congratulations. Congratulations.
That's awesome.
Keep them going.
Well, that's awesome that we're seeking out these opportunities. The grants are there. We're applying for them and we're getting them. That's only going to enhance what we can offer here in Monroe Township and to the district. Does anybody have anything they want to say?
Outside of the agenda?
That's appropriate for the public, yes.
Yeah, if I could, I know we have a little bit of time. It's something that I know we've talked about as a group before, and I just want to bring back up, tests, giving back tests to students. There's a lot of, dialogue going on. I know on social media, it's a request of parents, especially at the high school level, to get back tests. I know I have a 4th grader who takes tests. They come home, we review them. I sit with him as a parent, we go through what he got wrong, and it's part of learning. A lot of parents are upset that the students are not getting back their tests, especially a lot of times in the area of math that they would like the student to come home and have the test and be able to go to tutor or understand what they got wrong. And that's a complaint that we are hearing by a lot of parents and students, that they're not getting back their tests to review them.
You've heard that about math? My math teachers give back the tests. I know at the high school level, I don't, of course, the district, but I know for a fact we give back the test. They don't always give them back the second they've taken it because they might have 3 or 4 students that have to make it up, but they do give them back. They don't get back the final exam, they don't get back, but they give the test back. So I would be curious if you could reach out to Dr. Lehman and let me know who it is, or have the parent reach out so we can look into it, but that is news to me. I can't speak for other departments, but you just happened to mention math, so that's the reason I'm bringing that up.
Okay, I will,
So the tests are given back, but the final exams are not, is that what you're
The
saying?
final exam is a summative assessment at the end, but any test and quiz throughout the year in my department, as you said, is used for a means of learning. Quizzes are used to learn, to see, as you're going through a chapter, what you know and what you don't know and what you need help on. So it would be news to me if somebody is not giving something back, and I would like to know about that.
Okay.
We have a lot of teachers in the district. But I would like to know very specific class, specific teacher, not publicly, but so that it can be looked into.
sure, I'll share with you what was on social media this week. Because that was something that, and I was reading through the thread, and I know some of the parents on there that were,
And they mentioned that when they did it. I'm curious.
I think it was math. I know it was definitely high school, and it was, complaints about, tests throughout high school not coming back.
That, like you said, we can work through this afterwards, but I would be very, very surprised. And if it is happening, I'd like to know.
Okay.
Can I understand the process though with final exams? So if a child is surprised with the outcome, how do we handle the final exam? Do we just sit with them and show them and then take it back?
I sit all summer long. I sit
Show
with
them what
parents,
they
I
did
with
and-
students, I show them something, they just don't take it home.
They're not allowed to.
Because there's a lot of questions, but
We count.
I sit down all through the summer. I'm not the only one, the other supervisors do as well, too. If they want to sit down with the teacher, they have to wait till September.
So the process is that when they find the grades out, they reach out to teacher or administration and they ask
Through
for,
the summer, they reach out to us because the teachers are not.
and they
getting
ask
some.
for a meeting.
And then if it's close enough to that they want to reach out to the teacher, that would be in September, it should be.
Okay,
Yeah, but we hold on to it.
supervisor.
And why can't we give them back?
Because they're hard to
Use it
create.
for next year.
There's departmental
They
tests.
don't give them back in college either.
Yes.
You could not recreate them every,
That's a lot of work.
you would not want to have to recreate those tests every year. I have to say that's, the finals should never be given out.
But as long as they're able to.
They're
sit
able to
and
review
watch.
it, sure.
Yeah. there's-
Throughout
you
the
know,
whole school year,
Years, they have to come.
Visibly.
They can't take it home, they can't take it to a tutor, they can't.
Yeah, because I agree that there's a lot of work that goes into it, and they probably have 3 sets of, that get used year after year. But if they have the ability to see what they did
We're
wrong,
updating our final exams anyway, shouldn't we?
they probably do, they probably do move around. When the whole thing goes out, I would agree that that would increase the work a whole lot.
Writing a
The goal
test
here
and
is to
appropriate
understand
test
what I
takes a
did
lot
wrong.
of time, it takes a lot of effort, and you gotta make sure you have it. I totally agree that the finals for any should not be given out.
But the purpose is for the student to understand, right? And they can sit there, a half-hour meeting, 1-hour meeting, and see what they've done wrong.
And they can take notes.
I learned so much and even said, these are the areas of need you could bring in, and they have, I can only speak for the math, but they have several review sheets and studies each of them ahead of time. I've circled types of problems. These are the types that were similar to the ones. They don't need the actual exam here. If you want the content is a different story, and that they can get. But again, that takes time in the summer. I have time in the summer. We find a common time when we can meet. Sometimes it's just the parent, sometimes it's the student and the parent, more times both, so that they can see what they've done. And they can take a look at it. They can see if it's one common area if they had problems, if it was silly mistakes they were making. I can speak for ours. They can see where it was that they made them. But there are a lot of resources that they can use if they want to take that to a tutor. That is certainly not an issue because they have the study guides that go ahead of it. They don't come in and take a final in June blindly. They're given a few days worth of reviews and lots and lots and lots of problems. The final is just a sampling of the problems So if you're really looking to like really be ready for the next level and you feel you had issues, the review sheets are a much better idea. I've even gone so far as having the review sheets re-sent to me from the teachers because the teachers are on break and the solutions that go along with them, and they could take that to the tutor. So there's definitely resources.
Mhm.
Can I say something? Just not,
I want to be the last, but yeah, go ahead.
you will be the last.
Okay.
I just wanted to say thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
This has been my favorite meeting the last 2 years, and a little bit over that I've been on the board, and I have learned a lot from the way you led this meeting, the heart that you put into it, and we'll miss you a whole lot. Next month, especially when I'm at the curriculum meeting. I hope I am. I hope I am at the curriculum meeting. If I am, I'm really gonna miss your leadership. Thank you very much, Mrs. Butler.
Thank you. Thank you. This has been my favorite committee. I've been the chair of this committee since I joined the board in 2021. It seems like yesterday. And I really do enjoy it. I have seen this committee grow in its time, right? It's an hour and 15 minutes. And we use up that time because we have open dialogue like this and we have open discussion and we go back and forth. We don't always agree. We don't always see eye to eye, but we've done a lot of different things and just listening to what we went around the table talking about tonight is we changed the club proposals. So that first year, we were getting clubs every month, students were coming and it was, taking time from what the supervisors could present to us about curriculum, which is, a big part of our focus and things. So we, increased the agenda, for that. The enrichment programs, we've supported that, we encouraged that, and that you have delivered. The administration has delivered it. Mr. Monroe has definitely been, the driving force behind a lot of that, but it was the collaboration of all of you and administration that allowed that to happen from our insistence on some stuff. Graduation requirements. Kevin, we've challenged you a lot. We have brought, and pardon me for being so formal, Dr. Informal. We've challenged you a lot on some of the high school stuff, high school graduation requirements. We've had some pretty lofty conversations about that, some very, and we've done some really great things with that. And I think we've opened up a lot of avenues for our students and people I know. I've been thanked for, some of that and the work that we've done there. And this has been a group collaborative effort. This has not been me. This has not been you. This has been all of us together working to make this district what it is and the way, and the students that we have. We have incredible students here that just keep exceeding all of our expectations in different things. And I really appreciate all the work that you guys do. You come with those curriculum documents. I know what it takes to put that stuff together. It's not easy and it takes a lot of effort. And listen, that's what you guys went to school for. That's what that's your expertise. And I appreciate the fact that you allowed us to challenge you, allowed us to say to you, well, what about that? What about that? And I know, Mrs. Gaspar, we've challenged you a lot because math is definitely a thing that's just, you either love it and you want to take lots of it, or you hate it and you want to take as minimal as possible so that you can, I was going to say so that you can take your music, but you need to know math to do music, because if you don't know 2 4 time versus 4 4 time versus, what's an 8 note, like that stuff is math. Music is math, and if you can't, if you're tapping like this instead of like this, it makes a big difference in what you play, right? I'm trying to lighten it up a little bit, right? But it's there, and Ms. Structure's enthusiasm for science and social studies, and Dr. Roselle about LAL and ESL and all the stuff that you do. And Mr. Cloud, you just have brought a different approach with the elementary level, giving these folks a little bit of a free from, some of that, and you all work together, and I think it's amazing. And I appreciate, all of you on this side, with everything that you do. And I really do, I am going to miss this committee a lot. And so I want to thank you for indulging me in my craziness on some meetings and for my time here as the chair of this committee. I really am going to miss it. So thank you very much, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Give her a round of applause.